Hi there, in this video I'm going to have a go at making the Conrod for the Jerry Howell hit and miss engine. Okay, so the Conrod is made out of a piece of aluminium. I'm going to be using that, and it consists of the main piece and a cap end here. So the idea will be to face these ends off and bolt them together and then drill and ream 9/16 of an inch, and that will be taking a split rod end bushing made out of a piece of phosphor bronze, and on the other end there'll be another bushing for the small end, again made out of a piece of phosphor bronze. Now I think the majority of my machining for the Conrod is going to be on the milling machine. But first of all, I think I need to do a little bit of work on the milling machine, just preparing this piece of phosphor bronze, because the piece I've got will actually need to be split. So I'm just cutting this piece of phosphor bronze in half. This is for the split rod end bushing. Well, that certainly took a while, and I had to use a hacksaw to finish the middle bit off. So what I need to do now is to clean up the faces so I can then join them together with some super glue. And what I've done is I've put this one in a V-block and put this square on just to make sure that this is parallel, and it is. And we'll give it a go. Okay, so that's the two halves, and I've used a bit of emery paper just to clean the faces up. And later on what I'll be doing is I'll be joining those with probably super glue, and I'll be doing some more work on the lathe to create this split rod end bushing, aka the big end bushing. So I'm just machining the main piece down to size. Okay, so I've machined the main piece and the cap to the largest dimension, and I've used some loctite to stick both pieces together. So what I need to do now is to drill and tap 6x32 UNC. So first of all I need to use a number 36 drill to drill through 0.8 of an inch in two places, as I marked up. Once I've done that, I then need to open up this top bit out to be 6x32 clear, and I think probably 3.5mm drill bit should do that, so I'll just drill that to a depth of 0.4 of an inch. Once I've done that, I can then tap the lower bit, 6x32. Okay, so what I need to do now is move the x-axis 0.3125 to the right, then drill and tap. And then once I've done that, I want to move it move it to the centre again, and then move it 0.3125 to the left, and then drill and tap again. And let's hope that the super glue sticks. So I need to drill to 0.8 of an inch with this tapping drill. It's a number 36. Now the 3.5mm drill bit for 0.4 of an inch. Well, that seems to have worked out okay. Now if I had a bolt, I'd put that in for extra security before drilling and tapping the other hole. But I've not got one, so I'll just follow exactly the same procedure as I did before, but I'll do it all off camera. Okay, so the bolts have arrived. So what I did was I broke the glue joint, cleaned up the faces, and then I've bolted it back together. And now I've marked up where I need to drill the two holes, one for the big end and one for the small end. And obviously the big end needs to be centred on the join and in the middle of the width, and the little end needs to be 3.9mm, or rather 3.9 inches from that point up to there where I've marked. So this process needs to be done sort of as one process really, and I'll put it in the milling vise and I'll drill and ream this hole to be 9/16 of an inch, and once I've done that I'll leave it all set up in the vise to make sure that when I drill this hole and ream it to 5/16 it's going to be spot on, sort of parallel with this hole. Okay, so I use an edge finder to find the position, and I've then put this wiggler on just to double check, and everything looks spot on. But I've just realised that I've not got a 9/16 reamer, and I've also realised I've not got a 35/64 drill bit, which is what it needs to be drilled up to prior to reaming. So I've ordered those two things, and I'll obviously have to wait for those to arrive. But in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll centre drill and drill up to 1/2 inch in diameter, and then once I've done that I'll just leave the mill as it is and wait for those other bits and bobs to come through the post. So I've moved the x-axis along to the right by 3.9 inches, and now it's just a matter of centre drilling here and then drilling and reaming to 5/16 of an inch. But I'll do the rest off camera. Well, these bolts have ended up being sacrificial bolts because the reaming has taken some of the thread off, and that explains why the split rod end bushing has got a little groove there. That's so that the bolt can actually pass by the bushing once it's assembled. Okay, so I've marked up the outside edge, and I've used a 5mm drill bit to drill through here for these corners to put a little radius on. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave these drill bits in here, and I'm going to go to the milling vise and slot it on the milling vise with a parallel under the front and under the back, and that will mean that that edge here will be exactly parallel with the top of the vise, and I can mill it down to that level. Well, this approach seems to work okay, so all I need to do here is remove the parallels, remove the drill bits, and now I can just mill down to that point, that scribe line. Well, it's starting to take shape, so I've superglued the little end onto this mandrel and just put it on the rotary table on the mini mill. So I just need to turn this end here. So now I need to take off 64 thou on each side, and this is between the big end and the small end. Now it's a shame I didn't realise this when I was turning the small end, because I could have put the radius on that bit there, but I'll probably finish that with a hand file. We'll just have to see how we get on. So I've just done it this way because I didn't want to be having to sort of be very, very careful getting up to this end here. So I've got that down to the right depth. I'll repeat the same process on the other side and then I'll clean up all the middle out. But I'll do all that off camera. Okay, so the drawing shows a requirement to mill this centrepiece out to a depth of around about 60 thou, and I think it's just to make it look pretty. But anyway, I've used this scribe to draw the outline, and I've put this wiggler on to make sure that this top line here is parallel with the bed, and it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the y-axis that way about 2.5 millimeters, and I'm going to use a 5mm slot drill, and I'm going to move the x-axis this way, and I'm going to drill there to a depth of 60 thou. Then I'll move the x-axis the other way and drill there to a depth of 60 thou, and then I'll mill it out in between those two recesses. Once I've done that, I'll sort of repeat on this side here. Obviously I'll have to put a wiggler on to make that parallel, and gradually over time the idea will be that I've got all this centrepiece milled out to a depth of 60 thou. Once I've done that, I'll switch it over and repeat the same process on the other side. Well, that seemed to have turned out well. And what I did off camera was I drilled a little oil hole in there, and it comes out in the centre there. So all I need to do now is to round these edges off, and the way I'll do that is I'll put it in the 4-jaw chuck in the lathe. I'd already centred on the end here, so I can put a live centre on and put that end in a 4-jaw chuck, and then it's finished. Well, I don't know. It took me about 4 or 5 weeks to complete that from start to finish. And first of all, I had problems with the big end because I didn't have a drill bit and a reamer big enough. Then we had a couple of days away on the south coast, had a bit of a break. Then my PC started playing up the graphics card, so it's running like a 3-legged dog at the moment. So I built it myself about 8 years ago, so I think I'm in need of an upgrade now. Then when I got back to this, I realised that I needed a 5mm slot drill, so I had to wait for that to come in the post. But anyway, I sort of got there in the end. I was hoping to machine the split end bushing for the big end and include it in this video, but I think I'll do that in my next video. So hopefully in my next video I'll do the bushings, and we might be able to do a bit of assembly, sort of get it on the crank and get it on the piston and see what that looks like. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you liked the result, and I hope to see you later.